Greetings everyone, my name is Gigi and this is Let's Build, wherein I build a Lego set timed to different media and talk about the facts concerning the topic of the build. Today's build is the Lego Sega Genesis controller versus Sonic 3 and Knuckles. All footage I am using is for science, educational, and research purposes. My content is transformative and protected under fair use. All footage is time-lapse with commentary. I apologize in advance for pronouncing any names or places incorrectly. Spoilers ahead, you've been warned. Today is going to be a shorter video since this is a shorter build. Specifications of the Lego set. Build a gaming decor icon with this Lego Sonic the Hedgehog Sega Genesis controller set. Embrace your video games passion with a retro gaming controller that has a microscale Green Hill Zone scene on the back and can be displayed two ways. The set also includes regional stickers for customization and more. Dive into creativity with Lego Builder app where you can zoom in and rotate your models in 3D, track your progress, and save them all in one place. Set contains 260 pieces. Game room decor. Thrill any adult Sonic fan with this Sega Genesis controller set, featuring a brick-built game controller with display stand to kindle creative joy. Retro gaming controller. This set features a gaming controller with display stand, a microscale Green Hill Zone scene on the back, regional stickers to decorate the front, and more. Sonic the Hedgehog Lego model. Offers an immersive gaming decor building set to encourage relaxation as you build, while stimulating focus and creativity. Display-worthy nostalgia piece. The retro gaming decor controller has a buildable microscale Green Hill Zone scene with Sonic and Crab Meat video game characters, plus a display stand to show it off. Gamer gift idea for adults. This brick-built retro gaming controller with a microscale scene on the back makes a curated gift idea for yourself or another Sonic fan who loves Lego gaming decor. Controller dimensions. The controller model in this retro gaming decor Lego building kit measures over 3.5 inches high, 5.5 inches wide, and 1 inch deep. The instructions go right into the build without any further fanfare. The Sega Genesis, known as the Mega Drive outside of North America, is a 16-bit fourth-generation home video game console developed and sold by Sega. It was Sega's third console and the successor to the Master System. Sega released it in October 1988 in Japan as the Mega Drive, and in August 1989 in North America as the Genesis. In 1990, it was distributed as the Mega Drive by Virgin Mastertronic in Europe, Ozzysoft in Australasia, and Tectoy in Brazil. In South Korea, it was distributed by Samsung Electronics as the Super Game Boy, and later Super Aladdin Boy. Designed by an R&D team supervised by Hideki Sato and Masami Ishikawa, the Genesis was adapted from Sega's System 16 arcade board, centered on a Motorola 68000 processor as the CPU, a Zilog Z80 as the sound controller, and a video system supporting hardware sprites, tiles, and scrolling. It plays a library of more than 800 games on ROM-based cartridges. Several add-ons were released, including a power-based converter to play Master System games. It was released in several different versions, some created by third parties. Sega created 2 network services to support the Genesis: Sega MegaNet and Sega Channel. In Japan, the Mega Drive fared poorly against its 2 main competitors, Nintendo's Super Famicom and NEC's PC Engine, but it achieved considerable success in North America, Brazil, Australia, and Europe. Contributing to its success were its library of arcade game ports, the popularity of Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog series, several popular sports franchises, and aggressive youth marketing that positioned it as the cool console for adolescents. The 1991 North American release of the Super Nintendo Entertainment System triggered a fierce battle for market share in the United States and Europe, known as the Console War. This drew attention to the video game industry, and the Genesis and several of its games attracted legal scrutiny on matters involving reverse engineering and video game violence. Controversy surrounding violent games such as Night Trap and Mortal Kombat led SEGA to create the Video Game Rating Console, a predecessor to the Entertainment Software Rating Board. SEGA released Mega Drive add-ons including the Sega CD, the Mega CD outside of North America, which plays games on compact disc and can display full motion video, the 32X, a peripheral with a 32-bit processing power that can display polygons for 3D gaming, and the Laser Active, developed by Pioneer, which runs Mega LD games on Laserdisc. None were successful, and the resulting hardware fragmentation created consumer confusion. 30.75 million first-party Genesis units were sold worldwide. In addition, Tectoy sold an estimated 3 million licensed variants in Brazil. Majesco projected it would sell 1.5 million licensed variants of the system in the United States, and smaller numbers were sold by Samsung in South Korea. By mid-2010s, licensed third-party Genesis re-releases were still being sold by AtGames in North America and Europe. Many games have been re-released in compilations or on online services, such as the Nintendo Virtual Console, Xbox Live Arcade, PlayStation Network, and Steam. The Genesis was succeeded in 1994 by the Sega Saturn. Peripheral. The standard controller features rounded shape, directional pad, 3 main buttons, and a start button. In 1993, Sega released a slightly smaller pad with 3 additional face buttons, similar to the design of buttons on arcade fighting games such as Street Fighter II. Sega also released a wireless revision of the 6-button controller, the Remote Arcade Pad. Sonic the Hedgehog. Sega held a company-wide contest to create a mascot character to compete with Nintendo's Mario series. The winning submission was a blue hedgehog with red shoes, Sonic, created by Naoto Oshima, spawning one of the best-selling video game franchises in history. The gameplay of Sonic the Hedgehog originated with a tech demo created by Yuji Naka, who had developed a prototype platform game that involved a fast-moving character rolling in a ball through a long winding tube. This concept was developed with Oshima's character design and levels conceived by designer Hirokazu Yasuhara. Green Hill Zone, also known as Green Hill, is the first level of the platform game Sonic the Hedgehog, which released for the Sega Genesis in 1991. The level is grassy and lush, with environmental features such as palm trees, vertical loops and cliffs, and is the home of numerous forest animals. Like the game's other levels, Green Hill Zone comprises 3 acts. In the third, Sonic fights the antagonist Dr. Eggman before moving to the second level, the Marble Zone. It was constructed by level designer Hirokazu Yasuhara and its musical theme by Masato Nakamura. Description: Green Hill Zone is the first level of Sonic the Hedgehog. Located on South Island, it is a lush, grassy stage with unique features like droopy palm trees and crumbling cliffs. In addition, as with later levels in the game, Green Hill Zone has environmental features and obstacles like ramps, vertical loops, tunnels, springboards, spikes, and checkpoints. It is normally populated by woodland creatures, but antagonist Dr. Eggman imprisons them inside of robots known as badniks, prior to the events of the game, so the player must destroy them to free the animals. Green Hill Zone consists of 3 acts, and in the end of Act 3 features a boss battle with Dr. Eggman, also known as Robotnik. Development: Sonic the Hedgehog was created by the newly formed Sonic Team, a 15-member SEGA subsidiary formed to create a character that could compete with Nintendo's Mario. The game's level design was handled by Hirokazu Yasuhara, and the musical theme was composed by Masaru Nakamura, bassist from the J-pop band Dreams Come True. In designing Green Hill Zone, Yasuhara was inspired by the U.S. state of California, while the game's color scheme in general was influenced by the work of pop artist Aizen Suzuki. The game's programmer, Yuji Naka, stated that it took him almost a year to create Green Hill Zone, and that it was created and destroyed multiple times before arriving at the final version. Appearances: while the original game was a 2D side-scroller, Green Hill Zone was taken and remade in full 3D as a secret level in the 2001 game Sonic Adventure 2. The player unlocks it after collecting all 180 of the emblems found by completing the game's many objectives. The 2011 game Sonic Generations, a title that revisits past entries in the Sonic series, features both 2D classic and the 3D modern versions of Green Hill Zone, as well as other Sonic levels. A reinterpretation of the level appears in the 2017 title Sonic Mania. Green Hill Zone reappears in Sonic Forces, having partially turned into a desert due to resource depletion by Eggman's Industries. Digital recreations of Green Hill Zone appear in the 2022 game Sonic Frontier as part of the game's cyberspace level. In addition, Green Hill Zone appears as a stage in the 2.5D fighting game Sonic Battle, in the tennis video game Sega Superstars Tennis, in the sports video game Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Winter Olympic Games, and in the mobile title Sonic Dash, in the crossover adventure game LEGO Dimensions, and in the crossover fighting games Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax, and the Super Smash Bros. Series. In the 2020 live-action film adaptation Sonic the Hedgehog, Green Hill Zone is depicted as Sonic's original home. The film series also features Sonic and friends living in a small town in Montana named Green Hills. Legacy: later Sonic games often included callbacks to Green Hill Zone. Tori noted that Emerald Hill Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Mushroom Hill Zone from Sonic and Knuckles, and Seaside Hill Zone from Sonic Heroes all fit the same general mold as Green Hill Zone, claiming that gamers have played Green Hill Zone dozens of times. However, he opined that the Sonic Generations version of the original Green Hill Zone trounces them all, in both its 2D and 3D incarnations. Justin Baker of Nintendo World Report and Screbels both compared Windy Hill Zone from Sonic Lost World to Green Hill Zone, while Carter thought similarly of the Legend of Zelda downloadable content levels. The decision to include Green Hill Zone in other games in the series, such as Sonic Forces, has been a source of debate among some fans, who believe that Sega has overused the stage since its debut. The version of Green Hill Zone featured in Sonic Mania became one of that game's most hotly contested speedrun courses due to its added complexity in comparison to the original. The fastest route through the level was noted as consistently shifting between top, middle, or bottom segments as speedrunners further optimized the path. Hyrex, a notable speedrunner, called the level a monster due to its difficulty, including timed platforms. To mark Sonic's 15th anniversary in 2006, Sega released a papercraft version of Green Hill Zone as a PDF on the website. In 2011, not long after the release of Sonic Generations, SEGA held a contest inviting gamers to upload YouTube video playthroughs of the game's 3D version of Green Hill Zone, completing it in less than 1 minute and 50 seconds. Winners were eligible for Sonic merchandise. During the 30th anniversary of Sonic, Nakamura and Dreams Come True released Tsugi no Seno De on the Green Hill DCT version, a single of the Green Hill Zone theme which included lyrics to the theme for the first time and was released July 7, 2021. A music video followed just a few months after the single's release in September of that year. An alternate version of the track with more Genesis Mega Drive sounding instruments was released sometime after the single and was titled the Masato and Miwasko version. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a 1994 platform game developed by SEGA Technical Institute and published by SEGA for the Sega Genesis. Like previous Sonic games, players traverse side-scrolling levels while collecting rings and defeating enemies. They control Sonic and Tails, who attempt to retrieve the Chaos Emeralds to stop Dr. Robotnik from relaunching his space station, the Death Egg, after it crash lands on a mysterious floating island. Sonic 3 introduces Knuckles the Echidna, the island guardian, who lays traps for Sonic and Tails. Development began in January 1993 by the Sega Technical Institute in California, shortly after the release of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It was initially developed as an isometric game similar to what became of Sonic 3D Blast, but became a conventional 2D platformer due to time constraints. The pop musician Michael Jackson composed portions of the soundtrack, but left the project and went uncredited. Sources vary on how much of his work was retained, and many tracks were replaced in re-releases. Sonic 3 was developed simultaneously with Sonic and Knuckles. They were planned as a single game until time constraints and cartridge costs forced the developers to split it. The Sonic 3 cartridge can be attached to an adapter on the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge, creating a combined game, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. Sonic 3 was released in North America and Europe in February 1994, and in Japan in May. With its predecessors, it was a critical and commercial success, with critics seeing it as an improvement over previous installments. Sold a combined 4 million copies worldwide, placing them among the best-selling Genesis games. They have been re-released in various Sega and Sonic compilations. Gameplay: Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a 2D side-scrolling platformer. As with the Sonic the Hedgehog 2, players can control Sonic while Tails runs along beside him. A second player can join at any time and control Tails separately. Players may also play as Sonic or Tails alone. Sonic 3 adds the ability for Tails to fly for a short time by spinning his twin tails like a helicopter rotor. Unlike Sonic, Tails can also swim underwater. Sonic takes place over 6 zones, with each divided into 2 acts. Levels are populated with badniks, the robots created by the villain Dr. Robotnik. Sonic and Tails can defeat them by jumping on them or using the spin dash attack, which also gives the character a speed boost. The levels include obstacles and other features such as vertical loops, corkscrews, breakable walls, spikes, water that the player can drown in, and bottomless pits. There is a mini-boss fight with one of Robotnik's large, powerful robots at the end of the first act of each level, and a boss fight with Robotnik at the end of the second. Reaching a new level saves the game to one of 6 save slots. As with previous Sonic games, Sonic 3 uses golden rings scattered throughout the levels as your health system. When the player is attacked without rings, is crushed, falls off screen, drowns, or exceeds the act's 10-minute limit, They lose a life and return to the most recently passed checkpoint. Dying with 0 lives gives the player a game over. The levels also include power-ups and television monitors that, when hit, grant the character an extra life, temporary invincibility to most hazards, a number of rings, a shield that allows them to breathe underwater, a shield that allows them to withstand fire from enemy projectiles, or a shield that attracts nearby rings. Sonic 3 contains 2 types of bonus stages. When the player collects at least 50 rings and passes a checkpoint, they can warp to the first type, which involves bouncing up a gumball machine-like corridor to earn power-ups by hitting a switch. Both sides of the corridor are lined with flippers, which disappear when the character bounces on them, and the switch drops when both flippers supporting it are removed. The corridor's floor contains a bounce pad, which also disappears after one use. Falling afterwards causes the player to leave the stage with the most recent power-up collected. The second type, triggered by entering a giant ring found in secret passages, involves running around a 3D map and passing through all of a number of blue spheres arranged in patterns. Passing through the blue sphere turns it red, and touching a red sphere causes the player to leave the stage, unless the player has just completed a cycle around an arrangement of blue spheres, in which case all of those spheres turn to harmless rings. Removing all of the blue spheres gives the player a Chaos Emerald. If Sonic, not Tails, collects all 7, he unlocks the ability to become Supersonic, which makes him invincible to most obstacles. Failing to collect the 7 Chaos Emeralds triggers a post-credits scene in which Robotnik and Knuckles taunt the player. Sonic 3 includes a competitive mode. Two players controlling Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles race through one or all 5 stages that do not appear in the main game. In these same stages, a single player can compete against the clock in timed attacks. Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic and Knuckles were planned as a single game, but were released separately due to time constraints caused by a McDonald's promotion and cartridge size limitations. The Sonic and Knuckles cartridge features a lock-on adapter that allows other Genesis cartridges to be attached. Connecting the Sonic 3 cartridge creates a combined game, Sonic and Knuckles. The lock-on function is available in most re-releases. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles allows the player to play Sonic 3 levels as Knuckles or Sonic and Knuckles levels as Tails or both Sonic and Tails. Other new features are the ability to collect Super Emeralds, unlocking new Hyper forms for Sonic and Knuckles, and a new Super form for Tails, improved saved options, access to areas that Sonic or Tails could not previously access, altered boss forms, and an additional ending that shows Sonic returning the Master Emerald to Angel Island. Plot: after Sonic and Tails defeat Dr. Robotnik in the Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Robotnik's space station, the Death Egg, crash lands on a floating Angel Island. The impact from the Death Egg's crash causes the island to fall into the ocean. There, Robotnik meets Knuckles the Echidna, the last member of an ancient Echidna civilization that once inhabited the island. Knuckles is the guardian of the Master Emerald, which grants the island its levitation power and has an equal power level of the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Robotnik dupes Knuckles into believing Sonic is trying to steal the Master Emerald, and that the launch base is Sonic's base, turning the two against each other while he repairs the Death Egg. Sonic and Tails approach Angel Island in their biplane, the Tornado. Sonic uses the Chaos Emeralds to transform into Supersonic, but Knuckles ambushes him and steals the emeralds. Sonic and Tails travel the island hindered by Knuckles and Robotnik. At the launch base, where the Death Egg is under repair, Sonic and Tails fight Knuckles, but the Death Egg relaunches. On the platform attached to the Death Egg, they defeat Robotnik, causing the Death Egg to crash land on Angel Island again. The story resumes in Sonic and Knuckles. Development: like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was developed in California by the SEGA Technical Institute, STI. After the completion of Sonic 2, the producer, Yuji Naka, refused to develop another Sonic game with the Americans. SDI split into two teams, one composed of Japanese developers who worked on Sonic 3, and the other Americans who worked on Sonic Spinball. Naka and Hirokazu Yasuhara were the primary creators of the Sonic 3 design document and project schedule. Naka selected the majority of the team, while STI director Roger Hector oversaw development and Pamela Kelly led the marketing. Development began in January 1993. The team initially used the SEGA Virtual Processor chip, allowing for 3D graphics. They created a prototype with isometric graphics with the working title Sonic 3D. The original special stage featured a polygonal Sonic in a figure-8 shaped stage. When it became apparent that the chip would not be finished by 1994, Sonic 3 was restarted as a more conventional 2D platform game. The designer Takashi Izukawa said that the chip was an experiment to see if Sonic could work in 3D and was abandoned due to its low polygon count. The isometric concept was eventually used for Sonic 3D Blast in 1996. According to Naka, the team wanted a deeper story to expand Sonic's world, which greatly expanded the project size. As Sonic was an action game with international appeal, they told the story visually, using in-game cutscenes instead of text. The levels were triple the size of those in Sonic 2. Additional bosses, different musical arrangements, and graphics were used to distinguish Act 1 and Act 2 of each stage. Many elements were conceived during the development of Sonic 2, but deferred to Sonic 3. Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles were originally planned as a single game. However, the manufacturing costs of the 34 megabit cartridge with the NVRAM would have been prohibitively expensive. Due to the game's scope and SEGA of America's commitment to launch a major McDonald's Happy Meal promotion in February of 1994, the team reluctantly split it in half, allowing more time to develop the second part and splitting the cost between the two cartridges. The Sonic & Knuckles cartridge's lock-on technology was created, named and implemented so Sonic 3 could be experienced as intended. Among other features, it allowed the developers to keep the paths designed for Knuckles in Sonic 3, which were inaccessible on the standalone cartridge. Sonic 3 features the debut of Sonic's rival, Knuckles the Echidna. Many designs for the character were considered. For the final design, Takashi Yuda chose the kind of animal, and Pamela Kelly chose the name. Yuda envisioned him as a supporting character for Sonic, and he felt he would make a good playable character. Whereas Sonic symbolized speed, Knuckles symbolizes power, and the emphasis of a character that was to break walls. His shoe coloration was inspired by the flag of Jamaica. The original name for the character was Dreads, referring to his dreadlocks. The design was tested with focus groups of American children. Knuckles' climbing ability allowed the developers to introduce a more vertical gameplay. Growing up, I had the Genesis 2 NTSC model of the SEGA consoles. Even though this set was a gift with purchase, I wish LEGO would make a full-sized console like they did with the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Atari 2600. This set came with enough extra pieces and stickers to rotate which style of controller you want to display. Since I already played Sonic and Sonic 2 for the Sonic the Hedgehog Green Hill Zone LEGO set, I decided to move on to the next game in the series for this set. Even though the set features the Green Hill Zone, the level doesn't appear in Sonic 3 and Knuckles' game. Total build time, 39 minutes, 54 seconds, which means you could watch 1.5 episodes of Sonic the Hedgehog, the TV series. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Remember to like, subscribe, share, ring that bell, all the things for the YouTubes. Thank you.